Hello everybody, my name is Anthony Driver Jr. and I have the pleasure of currently serving as the President of the Community Commission for Public Safety and Accountability. I'd like to welcome you to the first of our 4 forums with our new Superintendent Larry Snelling. As required by the CCPSA ordinance, we are required to do 4 of these hearings, and this is the first of these. The purpose of today's meeting is for community members to share comments and questions with Superintendent Snelling and to provide recommendations to the Commission to inform our work with him. Before we get started, I would like to thank the Pui Tak Center for hosting tonight's event. I would also like to thank Alderwoman Lee for hosting this in the 11th Ward. I did not see her walk in. I don't think she's here. She has been a great advocate. I would like to thank you all for welcoming us to your community. It's a pleasure to be here. She's also a person who holds our feet to the fire as a commission to ensure that our commission is always moving in a way that is inclusive. So thank you all for having us here tonight, and also would like to thank her for her advocacy. Are there any other CCPSA commissioners or district council members in the audience? If so, I would ask that you please stand and be recognized. We got 2, 3. Thank you. Any other elected officials that are in? Oh, there we go. Okay. Before I ask Commissioner Terry to introduce Superintendent Snelling, well, she's not here yet. If Alderwoman Lee is here, we will invite her up to give a few brief remarks. And with that, I will pass it off to Commissioner Terry to start us off.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Thank you all for being here. So I'll be providing a quick overview of the process and giving a little detail and background about our new superintendent, Larry Snelling. So on April 7th of 2023, the Community Commission for Public Safety and Accountability initiated a nationwide search for the next superintendent for the Chicago Police Department. And as many of you are aware, throughout this process, the Commission took great care to ensure the voices of the community were at the forefront of that process. The Commission conducted 7 community listening sessions across the entire city, including virtual and sessions in Spanish. The Commission met with 3 unions that represent the vast majority of the sworn members of the Chicago Police Department. The Commission developed and circulated several surveys and surveyed community members, organizations, members of law enforcement, and members of the newly elected district councils, and obtained over 600 responses. The Commission also met with 34 subject matter experts and held targeting listening sessions with over 65 organizations spanning across multiple sectors, including activists and advocacy groups, business groups, community-based organizations, faith-based organizations, labor groups, legal aid providers, and social service agencies. On July 27th, the Commission nominated 3 people to serve as the superintendent of the Chicago Police Department, which included Chief Larry Snelling, who is now our superintendent. On August 13th, Mayor Brandon Johnson selected Chief Snelling to be Chicago's next police superintendent. Chief Snelling was unanimously confirmed by the City Council on September 27th of 2023. And so without further ado, I would like to invite Superintendent Snelling to share some brief remarks before we open this meeting with any questions and comments.
Thank you. First, let me start by acknowledging CCPSA. The relationship has been way better than I expected. Not that I expected anything bad. It's just been a great relationship. We've had a great collaborative working relationship. And I think we're going to get some great things done. So I'd like to thank President Driver and Ramel Terry for the work that they're doing. I can't say enough about how hard they worked and how dedicated they are to this partnership and making sure that our communities and the citizens of the city are safe. I'd also like to thank, and I want to make sure that I say this right, the Pui Tak Center, did I Did I say that right? Okay. I'd like to thank you for hosting this event. I think it's important that we engage with our community members. And the thing that I'm really appreciative of right now is that I'm looking out here now and I see people who actually represent the communities and the community that they live in. And that's very promising to see people show up with concerns about the community, right? So I know now that tonight that when we talk, we're going to hear some very important things and concerns from the community that I'm just waiting to address. And I'm just happy to be here, hear anything that you have to say, and hopefully we can get to the bottom of some of those things for you. So I won't talk too much longer, and I'll turn it back over.
The commission will now provide an opportunity for the public to ask Chief Snelling questions and to make comments. Anyone with a comment will have 2 minutes to speak. When I call your name, I ask that you line up at the microphone. Are these mics able to be moved? Yes. If you are not able to come and stand at a microphone, please alert someone on our staff, and we will bring a microphone to you. And again, please fill out these contact cards if you would like to come up and make a comment. So also, just to be clear, some folks wrote questions. There's no name attached to this question, but it's a pretty good question. Where do you find strength on the days that you feel overwhelmed?
That's my question.
Oh, go ahead.
That's your question. Can you give me that question one more time?
Please say your name and spell it as well.
Michael Lindsay, M-I-C-H-A-E-L, Lindsay, L-I-N-D-S-E-Y. It was basically how and where do you find the strength to press on when you are overwhelmed?
Well, when we talk about being overwhelmed, I think that's a state of mind and sometimes a choice. The way that I grew up, and there were a lot of challenges in my life growing up, so I can relate to those who are dealing with challenges, but I channel that energy toward those things and those days that are harder than others. But those days will only be as hard as you allow them to be. So my thing is to control the situation and not allow the situation to control me.
So I have, and please forgive me if I mispronounce your name, but the name that I have is Lan Feng Lane. And there is a comment that's written here. I don't know if you would like to come up and ask the question, or if you just are comfortable with leaving it as a comment, but what it says is, people are not shoveling snow and it's dangerous for the elderly. Would you like to come up and further clarify, or would you like to just leave it as a comment?
我咧就提兩個問題嚇。第一個咧，而家咧落雪啊，就係嗰路好難行咯，真係。以前好多年前咧，州長啊同埋其他嘅人咧都要講咧，要落完雪以後咧要鏟雪嚇，唔鏟雪要罰嘅。而家呢個咁樣嘅規定咧冇晒，但我自己親歷咁行，我真係要跣死人嘅，呢個一定係要鏟雪嚇，呢一個問題。第二個咧就係而家冬天咧踩單車嘅人比較少，但係天熱嘅時候咧，好多人就真係我哋嘅行路係俾老人家行啊，但係咧有好多踩單車嘅，多數都係橫咁嗰啲人比較老，踩個單車又唔出聲又唔傳得 好多時真係好危險啊！呢個係咪屬於警察呢個本嘅範圍咧？要督促一下啲人士過嚟。馬路有馬路嘅車行人嘅呢個單車有單車就唔好同我哋爭爭啦。我哋已經行得慢，又老啦，唔知道。我覺得呢個都係好重要嘅。天特別多，可能我。
Ms. Nan has two questions. One is that when there's a lot of snow, it used to be that people would shovel because there are, she understands that there are state and city laws about that, but she has seen a lot of people not shoveling the snow, and it's difficult for people to walk, and she wonders whether police can help with that. And the second question is about cyclists that ride on the sidewalks in the summer. It's very dangerous, especially for the elderly, when people come up on them quietly, and so she's wondering whether there's anything that police or anyone can help her with both of these questions.
As it relates to the snow, there are ordinances and laws surrounding that. Before she leaves, I'm sure we can get her some information of the proper city agencies to call to help out with that. When it comes to individuals riding bikes on the sidewalks, we see that a lot. And that's something that we can enforce when the police see it.
Our next speaker is, I believe it says Celia Francis. You can forgive me if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly.
Thank you. Again, my name is Celia Francis, C-E-L-I-A. Last name is F-R-A-N-C-I-E-S. And I am a co-facilitator for Beat 632. First of all, I'd like to say welcome and congratulations. I come from a police family. I've had a love for the Chicago Police Department since I was in kindergarten when Officer Friendly came to visit. So one of the things I want to say is I think that it would be a good idea to restart the Officer Friendly project, because early on it gave me a sense of comfort in having a one-on-one communication with the police department, not realizing that I would grow up and my uncle would become a deputy superintendent, my sister would be a detective, cousins of the Chicago Police Department. So I have a great love for the Chicago Police Department, and that's why I stepped up to serve in my beat. And I want to say congratulations, be safe. I wish you much success in this endeavor.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Our next speaker, State Representative Teresa Law.
Hello, we had a chance to meet earlier, and I welcomed you to the 24th District, which is the district I represent, and it includes Chinatown as well as Bridgeport, Wilson, McKinley Park, Brighton Park, and Beckett Yards. And so that also includes a good part of the 9th District, Police District, as well as parts of the 12th and a little bit of the 10th. So I've represented this community for the last 7 years, and there's a growing Chinese population. The community is very much an immigrant community, and it's been good to see more hiring of Chinese-speaking officers, especially assigned to the 9th District. And so, you know, I would like to see that continue, because there's a growing population, especially with immigrants, new immigrants, and seniors who have challenges with the language barrier. And I think that they would feel much more comfortable speaking with an officer that can understand them and communicate with them. And so I would like to know if, you know, we have your commitment to continue to address those needs in our community?
No, absolutely. Here's one of the things that I'll tell you. I've spoken with Alderman Lee about this, and one of the things that I told her, because she has the same concerns, we actually want to recruit as much as we can from the community right here, if it's at all possible. But I met with several officers at the Asian American Law Enforcement Alliance. We had an event there, which was a great event. Represented well, had Asian law enforcement members from across the country, which was great. So what we're focused on now is recruitment on all levels. And if we can recruit right from the communities, I think it's better, because I think what we can do is start building a greater relationship when we know that we have people from our communities serving in the department. And that's on all levels. So we want to make sure that we continue that. And yes, we do have our commitment.
Thank you so much.
So before we get to our next speaker, I did see that Alderman Lee just walked in. We do want to give you an opportunity to address the room if you so choose.
Hi, everybody. Hello. Thank you. Nice to see everybody. Thank you. My apologies for coming late. I first want to thank President Driver, Superintendent Snelling, Commissioner Terry. Thank you for coming to our community and having this town hall, having this be the first one that you do. It says a lot to us as a community about how important we are. As you can see from the turnout here, we've got a lot of diverse community members here with us as well. We've got folks that have lived here for a long time. I see some newer people as well. Public safety is a big priority for me and for, I think, everybody that's up here. And we know that public safety is not just about policing. We've all got to do our part in that. That is everything from making sure that the lights are on, and when the lights are off, you should be calling 311 or calling my office if you're here in the ward. Lights are really important, right? We need to be able to have lights so that people can get around safely, and we also need for each and every one of you as community members to participate in this process. So I thank you all for being here tonight. I know the weather's a little bit warmer, so I'm grateful that it's not an ice skating rink all over the city right now. But thank you again for coming. Appreciate all that everybody's doing. And for the officers that are also here in the room, thank you for your service. I know that every day, especially here in the 9th District, we work closest with you all, and you're always there when we need you, rain or shine. And I really want to acknowledge Commander Mullinex and all of his team, especially some of the CAPS and the DCO folks that I see here in the audience today. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Tom McMahon.
Good evening. I'm Tom McMahon. I'm a retired captain of the Chicago Police Department. I'm also an elected member of the Police District Council for the 5th District. Congratulations, Superintendent Snelling. Your job is tough. I'm retired, so I appreciate you sending those checks every month. You keep them coming. And I do want to thank whoever brought those refreshments. They're outstanding. So there won't be many left, so you may want to get out there and get one before it all disappears. The question I do have, Superintendent, is there's a lot of discussion lately about ShotSpotter. I'd like to know what your position is relative to ShotSpotter, pro, con, positive, negative. What do you think of it?
Let me just start by telling you what I know about ShotSpotter and what it's designed to do, and then just to break down a couple of myths. One of the big myths is ShotSpotter is a tool of surveillance. It's not. It's sound detection. And what it does is it detects gunshots. Now, our SDSC room, where we come up with strategies on how we're going to deal with crime, especially violent crime, the sound detection is tied to our system where we are immediately notified when someone is firing a weapon. I was just in the 11th District, and we doing a demonstration for someone, and while we were in that room, the shot spotter detected 3 shots. And there was a person in a vehicle who was shot in the head over in the 15th district. Within 30 seconds of those shots fired, that information went out to officers from our SDSC room. Within a minute, officers were on scene treating this individual. Within 5 minutes, the paramedics were there and they stopped the bleeding. Now, luckily for this individual, it wasn't a life-threatening wound, but think of how long it may have taken. Now, in that time, there was no 911 call for service. So how long would that individual have had to wait for an officer to get there while waiting on a 911 call? It also allows our officers to get to the scene quicker, where we've seen our officers perform life-saving measures, applying tourniquets, chest seals, things of that nature, and stop someone from bleeding out. It has also allowed our officers to get to the scene of a shooting where they may have been able to apprehend the shooter. So when it comes to technology, and if we're talking about moving forward in how we're going to police, because technology is being used by those who are engaging in violent crimes. And the only way to combat that is to approach with a higher level of technology. So if we're going to talk about moving forward and policing better, we have to consider our technology. And those who don't necessarily understand it, we're willing to allow you to take a better look at it. We're willing to step forward and give you a demonstration so you have a true understanding of what it is. So what I can say to you is that because of this technology, our officers have been able to get to scenes quicker and do outstanding work that people don't even know that our officers do. Saving lives, I can tell you right now, we have documented just through giving officers awards for it, life-saving awards, over 150 incidents where officers have applied tourniquets and life-saving techniques because they were able to get to that scene sooner. So, as I started out saying when this process first started, I'm in favor of any technology that's going to help us solve violent crimes and save lives.
Also, just a note on that, that is an issue that has come up a lot from Chicagoans. Our commission has been petitioned to have a hearing on this, and so we will be having a hearing on shot spotter and sound detection on February 8th at 6:30 p.m. at St. Sabina. So if you all would like to learn more about that and where folks stand on that particular issue, I would encourage you all to come out and have your voice heard. That whole entire hearing is specifically on that subject, and you'll get a chance to hear from folks who are experts on this particular subject matter as well as community members.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that date?
That is February 8th at 6:30 p.m. at the Yard of St. Sabina. I don't know the actual address, but it's on 78th and Ridgely.
1210 West 78th Place.
1210 West 78th Place. Cool. Thank you. You remember us? Okay, there we go. I love Buffalo. We should talk. Our next speaker is Marshawn Williams.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Sean Williams, M-A-R-C-H-O-N. Last name Williams, W-I-L-L-I-M-S. I have 2 questions, but they are in conjunction with each other. So my first question is, what strategies are going to be or are currently being implemented to help develop trust, accountability, and transparency between the police and marginalized communities? And then my question added with that is, if you can name any, what policies are being constructed to ensure this bridge?
Well, there's several things, and I'll answer that in reverse. First of all, there are several paragraphs in the consent decree about community engagement, reaching out to communities. As I said when I first took this job and prior to taking this job, it's extremely important that we reach out to our community members, that we engage, especially in those communities. One of the things that I talked about, and I talked to a young man here from Hamilton Park, a park that I used to play ball in when I was a kid growing up, and we just kind of talked about how much of a shame it is not to see that park filled with kids, right? It's empty, the basketball courts are empty, the park is empty. So what I'm looking to do is make sure that we're engaging with the youth for starters. We're also looking at interrupting violence, but we're looking to reach out to community members that we have not been able to reach. We do have community members who are active, and they're the same community members who are out there all the time. So we know who they are. We really appreciate the work that they're doing. They do great work, and we can't say enough about them. But we need everybody. Anybody that we can get from the community who is concerned about building relationships, I'm willing to do that. So I've already reached out to my community policing. We have a new strategy that we're going to approach with. We're right now restructuring the department and where everything is going to lie, but I want our community policing strategy not to just be centralized, where we have a group of officers that we call community police officers. All of our officers have to engage as community police officers because they're a part of the community. We can't just say that this officer should engage with the community on a particular level. Every single one of our officers should be doing that type of work. So all of our training, we're going to strategize by infusing community engagement into all of our training so that all of our officers understand that we're all community police officers and we will all be engaging with our communities.
The next person we have is June Norfleet.
I have so many questions. First of all, all right, thank you so much. Like I said, a lot of questions. But I'm going to focus on something, just piggyback on what you just said. Community policing expansion. Can you share with us what is going to be the role of the DCOs? They kind of have vanished in terms of their utility in several districts. And then, I'm going to ask my second question. Can you share with us, what are the, you said you have garnered 3 benefits from working with the commission. Can you identify those benefits that you have had from working with the commission?
Well, first of all, let me address the question regarding the DCOs. So each district is unique in its needs. So we're going to make sure that each district commander assesses the situation and the needs of the community in each one of those districts. And we'll make sure that we provide the resources for those districts necessary.
Maybe we should tell them, I didn't hear you speak in acronyms with a DCO.
I'm sorry?
You might want to share what a DCO is.
So, okay, let me come back to that because I don't want them to get, lost in that. But let me start by talking about the commission and the 3 things that we talked about, and then we'll go back to the DCO program. The first thing is collaboration. Working with the commission, and I can tell you right now, especially the 2 individuals who are sitting here right now, they are deeply rooted in the community. And through both of them, I've been able to reach out, especially with Commissioner Terry, reaching out to the west side because I'm a south sider. And so she is the roots for the west side for me. And that collaboration has been very helpful. Along with that, going back to your question, I was able to make connections with a group of people who are going to help us bridge that gap, right? Because they're going to help us with some of the things that we're trying to achieve in the consent decree. Secondly, just having that voice coming from the community, because right now, they're the liaisons between the police and the citizens. And they bring us concerns that we may not have been aware of. They also hold our feet to the fire. As a police department, we need to be grounded. And we need to be able to take advice. We need to be able to listen to our community members. And the biggest part of all is that they've been a voice of reason. The greatest part of what has happened here with the commission is that we've grown together. And let me just kind of put that in context. When I first came in contact with the commission, I was a chief. And it seemed like the relationship was a little bumpy. But I think on both sides, we've learned, they've listened, they've learned some things, they've done some research, and we were able to do the same. We've listened. We've done our research. And as a result of it, we've been able to collaborate in a way that I didn't know possible, let's say, a year ago. It's been really helpful for us. It's been really helpful for the relationship. And I think, and I shouldn't say think, I know that talking to them, that they not only have compassion for the community, but they also have compassion for the city, for our department and our department members. They've shared such because they do and they know, they understand that those people, if you look to the back of the room and you see these officers who are standing back there who keep us safe every day, they understand that those individuals are human beings. They don't see them as robots who were built on a conveyor belt. They understand that they're human beings. Sometimes we make mistakes, we have feelings, we have emotions, but the fact that they were open to that at a time where we weren't seeing a whole bunch of it has been very helpful in our development. So I just look forward to continuing this relationship and making sure that we continue to grow. It's going to help us in our communities. It's going to help us build those relationships. And it's good to have people on the commission who have lived experiences to everything that we're doing right now. So I really appreciate what they're doing.
But before calling the next name, I did see a few people walk in the room and just wanted to acknowledge them. I saw Commissioner Ida Troncoso, Commissioner Yvette Loison walked in, and also I think I saw District Council Member Joseph Williams. If there's anybody else that I missed, please let me know. Love to recognize you.
The next speaker we have is Maggie Finn. Oh, you knew who it was, okay.
Good evening. I have a few questions and maybe it would help the general public here if we can have a little bit of information on how I know you're looking for new commissioners and how the process is going to work, the timeline, when you need these people by, what are the qualifications you want out of these people, and then also my comment is more notification about meetings to the general public. I don't see it published in the papers, I don't see it, you have to look online for it. It's not a lot of places. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a district council member in the room that would like to speak to her first question? I think it's much more appropriate if a district council member who's maybe on the nominating committee who can answer that question better.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Ratchford. I'm a district counselor from the 17th Police District, so up north, and I'm on the nominating committee. So the commission applications opened on January 8th, and they will be open until February the 7th. We are looking for people who have some experience in community, in policing, social work, mental health care, anything that would link you to the community and be able to help us move forward with the relationship between public safety and police accountability, and trying to link the community and make better relationships with the police department. Qualifications. So there will be 7 commissioners. 2 will need to be attorneys with 10 years of experience. 1 will need to be a community organizer with 10 years of experience. 2 members will need to be between the ages of 18 and 24, and they will need to have lived experience of being involved in the community and involved positively or negatively with experiences with the police department. They will need to have fill out an application, submit a resume, and have 3 letters of reference that we will then use to. So what will happen is the nominating committee is required to interview at least 28 people, which would be 4 people for each of the 7 positions. And then of that minimum 28 that we interview, there will be 14 names selected by the nominating committee that we will put forward to the mayor by May the 8th. So we'll have 30 days from when the application closes to when we need to submit those names to the mayor. And then the mayor will have 30 days to either choose 7 of those 14 or give us written statements of why he has not chosen 1 or more of the people we've nominated, and then we'll take that from there if there are not 7 people chosen at that time. But no, actually, there's not specifically somebody who, as part of the ordinance, that is required to represent seniors. There will need to be 2 of the people that we nominate, or that the mayor chooses. 2 will have to come from the south side, 2 from the west side, 2 from the north side, and then 1 person can be at large. And again, there aren't a real clear set of skills that somebody will have, but please look at the application. Many of the seats in the room have these forms, and it will take you to the application and some more explanation of what's needed to serve on the commission. And then we do have on Saturday the 27th at 10 a.m. there's going to be a webinar on us explaining more to the community what the whole process entails. So please look that up and consider joining us on Saturday morning.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think there was a second part to the question. That was the piece about the everything? Okay.
I would just chime in. If you're here tonight, it's January, and it's cold outside. And if you're here, it's because you have a passion for your community and can be an asset to the police department. serve on the same committee, with her, and I'm happy to tell you, we're doing an awesome job. We're gonna come up with a great commission on this. But we need you guys, in this room here tonight, to fill out the application, get those letters of reference in, and, Ms. Rexford, I think it just sums it up very well. Thank you.
Thank you both. The next person we have to speak is Gui Chen.
Ms. Chen says that, first of all, just like the other gentleman said, everybody came out today in the cold, which means that they really wanted to hear what the superintendent has to say and want to welcome you. She wants to emphasize that safety is really important to her and to the community. To her family, if there's no safety, they are worried about traveling and even going to the parks. And even if the city builds the best parks, the most beautiful parks, they would not be able to enjoy it if they're not able to feel safe. So she really would like the superintendent to see all of us as one big family and take care of this big family and make sure that everybody feels safe.
Absolutely. Let me just address that. Thank you, first of all.
Sorry about that.
No, thank you.
Not really good English.
No, thank you very much. Your words mean a lot. It's important to understand that, and we do understand that safety across this city is the most important thing right now. And we know that we've been plagued with a lot of violent crime lately. What I will tell you is this, we've got a lot of plans in place, especially as it relates to robberies, vehicular hijackings, and stolen vehicles, car thefts. What I can tell you right now is that over the past few months, we've been trending in the right direction. Our officers are working really hard out there. And I can tell you the numbers for the month of January. Just in the month of January right now, we're down 17 homicides, 50% down in homicides. We're down 45% in shootings. We're down over 50% in shooting victims. We're down close to 60% in vehicular hijackings. That is a lot. But what's greater than that is last year at this time we had over 2,000 vehicles stolen. And we know that those vehicles that are stolen are used in secondary crimes. Right now we're down 50% in stolen vehicles. So that's 1,000 less vehicles stolen in the month of January at the same time last year in 2023. So, although those are great numbers, we know we still have work to do, but it says that we are trending in the right direction. We've got some great plans in place, and our officers are really working hard to keep you safe. So we're going to continue to do that. We're going to listen to our community members, and you're 100% right. We have to approach this as a family, right? So we have to be one. So thank you for that comment.
Our next speaker is T1 Sims.
Hey, good evening. Good evening. Superintendent Snelling.
Good evening.
And the rest of you all. So my question is this, when is any attention going to be paid to Rogers Park? Kamari Robinson, who murdered Kenneth Sandy, it would be when the yellow line crashed, he just got out. And the gun charge was dropped on him, a felon. That's countless young adults murdered without it being solved or with it out. And even look, my big brother, Walter Sims, in 1995 was murdered on London Polina. Still not even a call follow-up. But this is what we played with in Rogers Park, a certain particular community. And so I ask, is it really all inclusive when it comes to not just neighborhoods, but the policing of the neighborhoods? When we say community cops, does that include all of the community? Or just a few certain people? Because as we see in representation, that's what counts. And though we're not represented even in Rogers Park right now, there's a whole precinct, and there's not one Black American person, I'm certain of it. I was just there for like almost 30 days. In the precinct, there's Jamaican, there's so many different things. And I know you might think, why you talk about race? Because it's daunting when you think about how many children, a 5-year-old wait. And then all the countless young adults that's dead, murdered. With no follow-up, no investigation, and it's consistent, almost 30 years. And though I was an element and part of it, they used to call the neighborhood where I'm from the Moore's hellhole. So that I guess they thought about us as demons. And you can disregard demons in a lot of ways. So I ask, sir, honestly, truthfully, is this an all-inclusive? This whole policing, this whole community policing, does it involve us?
That's the time. Thank you.
Let me answer that question by telling you yes. And here's why I tell you. We have our family liaison program, our FLO program that we're expanding. Our detective division, and we've heard these voices where people felt like the detective division wasn't following up. They're doing that. We've expanded our FLO program, the family liaison program, put on events for members of the community who have suffered through losses, through homicides, and people who were seriously injured in violent acts. We are reaching out to the communities. Right now, I can tell you, again, moving in the right direction, that we're over 60%, which is higher than it's been in decades, in clearance rates when it comes to homicides this year. And I can tell you right now, that's across all communities. And the communities where you're talking about where people live and look like you, look like me, absolutely. I'd be living in hypocrisy if I sat here and told you that you weren't a part of this or you weren't a part of what I'm laying out. So when I say that every officer is to be a community police officer, we're reaching out to everybody. So we can talk about the past. I don't live there, I learned from it, and then we'll move forward from there. So what I'm looking to do right now is to move forward, hear those voices, not live in the past, but develop everything for the future.
Our next speaker is Jose Almanta.
Hey everybody. First, my name is Jose Manuel Almanza, JOSEMANUELALMANZA. I just first want to address the first community member who asked questions about clearing the snow from sidewalks and folks riding their bikes on the sidewalks. I would urge you to contact your alderperson and ask them to support the city pilot program of Plow the Sidewalks, which Electricity, myself, and other partner organizations are working with the city to develop that program. So please contact your alderperson and ask them to support the city ordinance on Plow the Sidewalks. And there's another point on biking on the sidewalks. We definitely don't want the police to be in charge of stopping, searching, and ticketing mostly teenagers who use the bike on the sidewalk. Rather, I would urge you to ask your alderperson to build more protected bike lanes and create an environment where people feel safer riding their bike on the sidewalk, on the street rather than the sidewalk. And first, I want to ask a question, and then use two examples. Superintendent Snelling, what would it take for you when you're assessing the CPD to look at a tool or a strategy and be like, nah, it doesn't work, and then scrap it and start something else? And the two examples I have for you is, as another person mentioned, ShotSpotter. There's studies that haven't been unproven that shows that 90% of ShotSpotter alerts lead to no evidence of gun violence or gun crime or finds a person wounded. There's also a lawsuit against it where ShotSpotter was used as evidence to wrongfully imprison at the very least the 3 defendants that are part of that lawsuit. And also the state's attorney has decided to stop using ShotSpotter as evidence when they're prosecuting people because ShotSpotter will not let them see the algorithm that they use to decide if it's a gunshot or not. So they should stop using ShotSpotter as evidence. Tying that also to traffic stops, so pretextual traffic stops. There's also a lot of data up there showing how ineffective traffic stops are as a tool, and they are, I'm at time, so I just want to leave it at that and let y'all respond to that.
Well, let me respond that there's a lot there. And you tied sound detection to a lot of things that it's not tied to. You can read studies, and I can show you how it works. There are a lot of things that are written, and people talk a lot about data, or the data doesn't lie. People do. And until you actually see it, you don't necessarily understand it.
I would like to see
Here,
the algorithm.
hold on, let me finish. When shot detection does one simple thing, it detects gunshots and it allows officers to get to those locations quicker. We don't use ShotSpotter as evidence in a case. You can't make the case with ShotSpotter. You can't say that because sound detection detected a shot, that person fired shots. You have to have further evidence. What ShotSpotter allows us to do is get to that location. Now, when we get to that location, or if we have cameras in that location and we can then pan in on a location where it may have been recorded, we may record that individual firing off shots, which we have done. That's the evidence that's used. It has nothing to do with ShotSpotter. The only thing ShotSpotter does is bring our attention to that location. ShotSpotter does not put a gun in the hand of an offender. ShotSpotter has nothing to do with a pretextual stop. You can't connect those two things. If we have reasonable suspicion or probable cause for a stop, that's why we do it. When we talk about the collection of evidence, just because shots are fired and officers get to that location and there's no one there, doesn't mean that shots were not fired in that area. Usually when people fire off shots, they don't stick around. They leave. They move. We have recovered shell casings, and if it's a revolver, there'll be no evidence there because shell casings aren't expended from a revolver. So there's a lot to unfold there. What I would say to you is that if you really, really, truly wanted to understand ShotSpotter, there are ways that you can really find out what it does and how it works. And And I can tell you right now, we show an in-house video to our officers of an individual who was wearing a shirt that said F12 when the officers arrived on scene. He swore at those officers, he called them every name in the book. Told them he didn't want them there. The officers left the scene. They weren't there for him, they were there for something else. 15 minutes later, shot spotter alert went off. Officers go back to the scene. This young man who's wearing the F12 shirt is shot in the stomach and chest. Those same officers applied a chest seal to this individual, saved his life and a tourniquet. Now we have video footage of that. So here's what I can tell you. We can read what people want us to hear, or I can show you the facts and what our officers have done and what they've been able to do by getting to those scenes quicker. So I don't say this lightly, and I don't want to be argumentative with you. I just want to throw some facts out there for you. So anyone who is willing to step up and see what's going on, I'm willing to show you.
If you could tell ShotSpotter to let us see the algorithm, that would be perfect, because that's really what's deciding if it's a shot or not.
So I keep want to address this, and I want to be clear that I'm not taking a position. But our commission has been deep in this work regarding the issue of ShotSpotter for a long time. And even now it's hard for me to get my words together, because it brings up a lot of painful and traumatic experiences and memories. It is true that numbers don't lie, but they also don't tell a story. And that's the thing that I've been struggling with this entire time, is they keep presenting studies that say 90% of the time, no law enforcement action is taken when you get a ShotSpotter alert. And this is not me speaking as a person who's educated, a person who's president of this commission, as a concerned citizen, as a person who works for a labor union, any of those other identities or hats that I wear. This is me speaking as a young black Chicagoan who grew up in a neighborhood plagued by gun violence, and I literally just moved to another neighborhood plagued by gun violence. The stories are not attached to that. I can't tell you how many times I've sat in my grandma's living room and heard gunshots. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten off work just 2 years ago, a year and a half ago before I moved to Brownsville. I lived in backyards. I get off work, I'm driving home. My neighbor, who I've known all my life, fires like 12 rounds in the air. Now he just saw me pull up from work. You know, my car, I waved at him. He's sitting on his porch. I just saw him fire 12 shots. I know I can't call the police. Because if I call the police, he's going to know I called him because the whole block is at work. I'm the only person who saw him. And he saw me see him shoot. I get a citizen notification, and it says 12 shots fired, protect 12 rounds with his exact address. The police pull up, he run in the house, toss the gun in the house, come back and sit on the porch. And they ask him, have you heard any shots fired? He says, no, I don't know what you're talking about, going about your business. They leave. That's going to show up in the numbers as no law enforcement action taken. In that moment, when I know my grandmother is about to come home, is about to be dropped off at home, I did want him to stop shooting. But I also was paralyzed because I knew I couldn't call the police. And so when we keep getting these studies and these things that are coming out, I'm not trying to argue for or against, but the stories of the impacted are what's important here. And the people who are presenting studies over and over, I would implore them, go into those communities that are plagued by gun violence and talk to those folks. This isn't a Chief Snelling, this isn't a president driver or an academic issue. We can have studies that show anything. We can have studies that show ShotSpotter is evil, ShotSpotter is the best. What I'm saying is this narrative around all of this stuff is not including the voices of the people who are impacted every day. The people who feel imprisoned in their homes, because I know what that feels like. But those voices aren't at the table. Those are not the people who are coming to me with studies. Those are not the people who are coming to me from ShotSpotter who operate out of California. So the vast majority of Chicagoans who are dealing with these crises every single day, who live in trauma, who live in fear, who are scared, who can't go to the parks that we just talked about. who struggle taking public transportation, who can't come out to our commission meetings, and we gotta figure out how to do it virtually because they can't take public transportation over here because they don't feel safe. Those are the stories that matter. It's not mine, because thankfully I've gotten to a point where if I wanted to leave my community tomorrow, I have enough money to do that. And I'm very blessed and thankful to be able to afford that opportunity. My entire family still lives in the back of the yards in Inglewood. And so I would just implore the citizens of Chicago, the folks who are telling these stories about shot spotters, about traffic stops, about every single thing else that we do in public safety, to ground yourself in the community. Not in studies, not in statistics, not in police officers. What's happening on the ground? Are people in Chicago scared to leave outside their door? And so I apologize for getting passionate about this, but this is a very real issue. And it's being approached from an academic perspective, and you cannot put my lived experience in a book. You cannot put my lived experience into statistics. No study you can show me that will tell you how I felt when I drove up and knew my grandma was on the way home and he was firing his gun in the air. And so for me, that's why hearing on the 8th is important, because I'm tired of the back and forth, the polarization. You're back to blue or all cops are bastards. That's nonsense. The vast majority of Chicagoans do not live in that area. The vast majority of Chicagoans just want to be safe. You see folks coming into these meetings from all walks of life, and so I'm gonna stop now because I'm clearly getting a little passionate. But that is what is important. That's what's important, and I feel like we've lost that. Everybody's going to a corner. You got this corner and that corner. They keep throwing rocks at each other. Meanwhile, most of us are sitting here like, what the hell is going on? We just want to feel safe. We want to get to work safely. So I'm sorry for getting sidetracked on this, and we will continue with the.
Our next speaker, Pastor Doyle, Positive Vision Ministries.
D-O-Y-L-E, L-A-N-D's and David R-Y. Superintendent Snelling, good evening, and again, congratulations on your appointment.
Thank you.
So, as a Marine Corps veteran, many of my colleagues will be coming to Chicago exactly 7 months for the convention. So 7 months from today, the convention is over. It's the day after the convention, August 23rd. You have the convergence of many forces, regardless of how they feel about the current president, intent on destruction. Since President Driver just mentioned corners, in the other corner, which we who present ourselves as black continue to ignore, are the word I'm going to use are misguided youth who come downtown to destroy. The eyes of Chicago will be on us, August 9th to the 22nd. So in your vision as our new superintendent, what does August 23rd look like? Because begin in mind as I close, that's going to be our showcase to the world. And I didn't come into this life until 1970, so I wasn't here in 1968. However, if we don't face what we refuse to fix, 2024 will be our worst nightmare, and the color will be ours. What does August 23rd look like?
Well, here's what I'll tell you, what August 23rd looks like to me. Success, right? Because if I'm not thinking success, then I'm already failing. So here's what I'll tell you, what we've done to deal with teen trends. And we've used technology there to find out when we have these teen trends and we get out in front of them. What we've done is that we've partnered with some of our community organizers, some of our outreach, CPS, our community policing. We have our officers downtown. Now, what I've said, and I'll say it again, we're not going to tolerate vandalism, violence. We're not going to tolerate teens going into a location, especially downtown, if they're not down there to have fun, because we don't want to violate anybody's rights. We want them to enjoy the city if they go down there for the right reason to do it. And what's going to happen is if they break the law, they will be arrested. Their parents will have to come and pick them up. We're not going to stand idly by and watch people break the law and do nothing about it. And we're going to send a message. Now, we've already sent that message. If you look over the past 7 to 8 months, we haven't had the number of teen trends that we had in the past. And it's because we've gotten all of those people involved. It's because we're reaching out to these parents and making sure that these parents know and understand where their kids are. A lot of these kids are just trying to be social media famous. And they go down to do that, record it, and then put it on TikTok or put it on something else. So what I will tell you is this. The 23rd of August, just like the year of 2024, as successful as we can be because we're preparing for everything, we're preparing for the possibility of large-scale protests. We are working on that now. We have been training our officers up on First Amendment since last year, and we're going to continue that training until the DNC gets here and through every summer event. So August of 2024 looks like success to me.
Thank you.
So we have 7 more speakers, so I'm going to call a few of you, just so you know that you're up next. So we have Diane Hodges, and then after Diane Hodges, we have Jen Chen, and then after Jen Chen, we have David Wu.
Good evening.
Good evening.
And it's a pleasure to be here. I am Diane, Dianne Hodges, Hodges. I'm team leader of the South Merrill Community Garden. I am also a public safety strategist with Neighborhood Network Alliance. I've been in my community in South Shore for over 50 years. In 2016, I took over a garden that was inundated with garbage, drugs, and guns. In this time, we have transformed the garden, and a block that was called Myrtle Merrill is now called Paradise Merrill. We have blocked up signs, and these signs have not been damaged. They've not torn down. We understand that underground economy isn't going anywhere. We must learn how to help them understand they have to respect us and where we live, and we have to coexist in kind of way. And so we have been working at that to the degree that we've helped some people get into reentry programs. We have Sean, Executive Director of Lawrence Hall here. We have a satellite location in an apartment building on our block, which allows youth to come there and get assistance. We work with O'Keefe School. We have created a community room, and there are 4 sets of keys at the 3rd District where officers can come to the community room and get tea, coffee, and just relax themselves. Plus, it allows people on that block that was called Myrtle Merrill, it's now Paradise on Merrill, to come out and see police interacting with people in the community. Our mission is care, concern, action, no excuses. So for you, Superintendent, I would like to know what 3 points or what 3 actions can you take to help an area that has been plagued with gun violence, drug addiction, and mental health for, say, over 40 years?
Well, number one, we saw over the years mental health facilities close down. And I know the mayor has dedicated himself to reopening mental health facilities. That's going to be important, number one. Number 2, community engagement. We have to engage the community because when we're talking about gun violence, you know, the only way that you get people who are plaguing neighborhoods with gun violence is to get community members involved. We can't arrest our way out of that. It can't just be the police. It has to be a group effort. So we're willing to team up with community members, especially like yourself, we're dealing with reentry programs, because until we get to the root causes of some of these things, they're just going to continue. In the meantime, we do have to enforce the laws. So we have to hold people accountable. But once we hold them accountable, we know they're going back out there. So the question is, what do we do for those individuals, and how do we get those individuals help so that they don't go back out and do the same things over and over again? And it sounds like the program that you're talking about will help us do that. So we're willing to work with you in partnership to make sure that happens.
So I have your card and it has the email on there. If I email you, are you gonna get in touch with me? Or who's gonna get in touch with me?
We will get back to you, and we will make sure that we work in lockstep. Because trust me, I know the circle. I know everybody that you work with.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, no problem. Take care.
David Wu Jin Chen.
I'm David Wu, G-A-V-I-D-W-U. Thank you for coming to Chinatown. About 3 years ago, Chinatown led the city in robberies and carjackings. I'm glad that the statistics are going the right direction. Our state rep and our alderman talked about the need for Chinese-speaking officers, and that's wonderful. Old timers in Chinatown remember beat officers walking the neighborhood. There was an officer, Robinson, he was an African-American officer. He didn't speak any Chinese, but he was recognized and people loved him because he was in the community for probably 10 plus years. Is officers like walking beats like Chinatown, is that just unrealistic nowadays because of personnel shortage, or is that still an important strategy or effective strategy that you might employ in communities like Chinatown?
No, it's not unrealistic. Obviously, yeah, we are short officers. However, when we talk about every officer being a community officer, the best way in the world to develop a relationship is to walk and talk. Stop into some of the businesses, have conversations with people, get to know each other, because I think and I don't think this, I know it, that when we get to know each other, we can humanize each other, and we communicate better. We trust each other, because that's the only way we're going to build that trust. If you don't know that officer doesn't know you, the relationship isn't as strong. But when we develop that relationship where we know each other, I know you, you know me, we're able to share information. The other thing is that's going to help us in the future with our clearance rates, with people who are willing to, because they've built that trust with officers, to give the detectives information that's going to help us solve crimes. So, no, it's not unrealistic, and it's something that we'll be moving to do.
The next speakers we have is Roland Lacey. Is it Roland Lacey?
Young.
Young? Yes. Roland Young. Yin Tae Fong. And then after Yin Tae Fong, we have Brad Redrick. And then lastly, we have Jesus Quiroga.
Hello everybody, my name is Roland Young. Some people know me, a lot of people don't. I speak Mandarin a little bit, Cantonese a little bit. I've been in this community for 70 plus years, okay? I want to quote a person, a famous female, which is Oprah Winfrey. We are a village. We are to better ourselves by working together, not separated. United we stand, and we divided we will fall. And the other thing I'd like to say, with this being the year of the dragon, I believe that Mr. Larry Snelling, the superintendent of police, will do anything and everything under the year of the dragon to burn all the fences down that relate to crime and settling all the crime. And to quote another person, as Martin Luther King said, we shall overcome.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome.
Yin Tae? Yin Tae Fong?
evening。我想本年有兩個 question 嘅，而家即係頭先好多人都問咗個治安問題已經解答咗啦。我另外一個問題就想問Western 泊車嗰啲，即係喺我哋街邊住宅行街要 permit 泊車嗰啲，好多時我哋有 permit， 但係擺咗上去，我哋就俾抄牌，冇 permit 嗰啲人唔抄牌，咁樣佢又泊咗好耐唔走。同埋好似我住嗰個社區，我條街咧有啲車係冇 license plate 冇 windshield sticker， 咁我 call 咗 police whole year 啦，成年啦 last year 㗎啦 ，I call police no people coming， I call 911 call 311 I call my elderman help same thing no people coming the car still here， 咁好多人放工翻嚟。After work, no parking， 我啲車泊晒喺度，咁我唔知道即係警察，你哋可唔可以做到啲乜嘢？Depend on priority of the call。我住12區，但係房間都有。
Okay. So I just wanted to make sure that I know where Mr. Fang lives because he was talking about his neighborhood, so he lives in the 12th ward. And he said that there are a lot of people like him that have residential parking permits, but then they put the permits on in the car that they get tickets, and other people that don't have permits don't get tickets, and there are people that leave their cars for a really long time, and there's no enforcement, and they tried to call the police, you can call 311, 911, and they had not been any responses. And then there are some people with cars with no license plates.
No license plate, no windshield sticker. He parked a long time. I called the police, I called the 911, no people coming.
Well,
I don't know how to do it.
You know, before he leaves, he can leave an address, and we'll have the 9th District look into that. Thank you.
Brad Redrick, Jesus Quiroga.
Congratulations, sir.
Appreciate that.
Great point. My question has to do with, I live at the crux of 3 districts, so, you know, I gotta go to a lot of beat meetings to cover my area. The beat meetings have been going, downhill with effectiveness for years now. And I love that you're gonna get the focus back on everybody's community police officer. How would you like to see the meetings go ahead? Do you have a improvement plan on that, or?
Well, the first thing I'd like to see is representation from the neighborhood. The people that we're not hearing from, the people that we should hear from. Right? Now, those are the people who are dealing with the most. Those are the people who are suffering the most. Those are the people who are prisoners in their own homes, or they suffer the most fear, right? Coming out of the house. Those are the people that we want to hear from. Now, what we want to do is give the community a voice. Once we hear those issues, those complaints, we need those issues and complaints addressed by our officers, but not only by our officers, but any other services that the city can provide. So for the longest time, what we've been doing is we've been putting all the weight on the shoulders of the police to resolve all of the issues, when we know that some of those issues and the resources for those issues lie in other agencies within the city. So I've talked, you know, across the board. We have meetings at the mayor's office about this and how we're going to get those resources out. So what I imagine is a community meeting where our communities are coming out, being honest with us, putting your issues on the table. We address those issues. If they're crime issues, we will deal with those. But if there are other issues that are outside of the services that we provide as police, we want to steer you in the right direction. And then we want to start getting some of those people from other city agencies to those meetings. So we would like to see those things grow. We'd like to see more community members come out, because as you've heard from President Driver, for the most part right now, policies that are being driven in the communities where you live are being driven by people who don't live in your community. People who don't understand your problems. People who don't understand your issues, and people who don't look like you. So we want to hear from the people in the communities. We want to hear their voices. We want to know what their issues are, and we want to be able to address those.
And my other point was major incident notifications. A lot of the advocates that are here. There needs to be a policy that allows us to have a synopsis of what has happened so that we can communicate and people can calm down. The way things go now, the officers are too afraid to say anything. You know, but General Barnes or any of the news people can go end the night with a synopsis of what happened. It seems like the community advocates should get that chance also, so we can spread word around and get people calmed down. If that makes sense.
So, and I think we need to do that, and we've actually talked about this with the comms team. Just being able to report out certain things. What we don't necessarily want to do is open up access to all of the information, because that could affect some of the things that we're doing, especially when it comes to investigation. But we can do a better job of reporting out, especially something that has happened in the neighborhood, and getting that information out to the community to kind of, you know, bring down some of those fears or concerns about what's going on in the community. So, and I do appreciate that suggestion. Thank you.
Our last speaker, Jesus.
Hello, Mr. Larry. How are you doing? Thank you for coming out and for me to find out. But I want to ask you, why does a parent of a victim of a crime have to beg politicians, black politicians, I'm talking about on the south side where I'm at. My child was raped at CPS. With my story, the 587 cases that the Chicago Tribune was because of me. They never contacted me because everybody in the political world does not want to bring out the story. The principal was the sole person that covered up the story because she's politically connected. Her name is Felicia Hooker. She false arrested me, false convicted me. I guess in the city of Chicago, justice is bought and sold. I'm not making this up, but can you please bring closure to this? We've been suffering since 2010, sir. Since 2010. My child is going on, and I'm still going on, and I'm still fighting till my last breath. And so, as you, as a father, I hope you're a father, how would you handle a situation where your child is a victim of a crime?
Well, here's what I'll tell you. I don't know the details of your situation right now. If you have any information that you can provide.
But the thing is that I got a Freedom of Information Act from your department. They don't want to investigate this crime. They don't want to investigate it. They don't want to touch it.
Well, here's what I'm telling you. Until I have some information, I can't really comment on it. I would like to know what that case is, and we can have somebody look into it and get back to you, just to determine what that is and what the case is. And listen, I don't want to hear any crime against any child, and I know how that has to feel as a parent, because yes, I am a parent. And the one thing I am is extremely protective. Imagine somebody coming home and saying they want to marry my daughter, right? It's a tough thing when you think about your child, because we're willing to give our lives for our children.
Exactly.
So I understand, and I understand that pain. So if you can get my guys, and they'll talk to you and get your information. I'll have somebody do some research on it. You give us your contact information, and we will get back to you. And I can promise you that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So that concludes this portion of our hearing. I want to thank all of the community members who spoke, who came out and so bravely shared the things that are on their mind. I would want to turn it over really quickly to Superintendent Snelling for any closing comments, and then President Driver will close us out of this hearing. And again, thank you all. Thank you to the Alderman. Thank you to the Pui Tak Center, all of the things.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you to everyone for being here. I think this is important. I think this is one of the larger turnouts that I've seen at one of these, so it tells me that people are actually concerned about what's happening in their communities. We're concerned about what's happening in your community. I really have to thank, because I can't walk out here today without thanking the members of the Chicago Police Department for the work that they're doing out there right now. You know, every time I look in the back of one of these rooms and I see those officers standing back there, we know that those are the people who stand between good people and those people who would do them harm. I just can't say enough about the work that they're doing, especially with all of the negativity surrounding how people feel toward them. These human beings who go out there, they're attacked on a regular basis, whether it's verbally, physically, but guess what? They get up, they come back, the next day they do it all over again. And they do it because they care about the city, they care about these citizens. So I can't say enough about them. That being said, I can't say enough about everybody here in this room. I get, for standing up and coming up, making your comments and your concerns. It tells me that you're dialed in, and I can't respect that anymore. We have supporters in the room. I know there are some people in here with concerns. When you get up here and you say what you need to say, and I know that it's coming from the heart, there's nothing to be offended about. So just keep doing what you're doing. Stay dialed in. I guarantee you, our officers will be connected. We are moving in the right direction. We're trending in the right direction. We have a tough year coming up, probably one of the toughest on record in the 32 years that I've been with the Chicago Police Department. 2024 is going to be a challenging year. There are a lot of things that are going on. We've got protests because of the conflict that we have between the Israelis and Palestinians. We have the DNC coming up. We have NASCAR, you name it. There are a lot of things that we're going to have to deal with, but we are prepared, and we're going to continue to prepare for these types of things because this is our city and we want to keep it safe. Like I said earlier, success. That's all we're thinking about right now is being successful, because that's what's going to keep everyone in this room safe. Again, what I'd like to do is thank the commission here, because I can't say enough about Ramel Terry, President Driver. The one thing that I saw from President Driver just now, that, and I just have to say it, the passion. The passion for someone who grew up in a community, much like I did, much like Commissioner Terry. And we see things that other people don't see. And there are people out there who will do serious harm to other people. And we would like to see all of our family members stay safe. We want to be safe. We want our kids to be able to ride their bikes. We want our kids to be able to go out and play. And we don't want to have to worry about them being shot by a bullet, a stray bullet, or someone who decides that I'm just going to rob an individual, pistol whip someone, carjack that person. We do not want to see our city continue to go in that direction. So I promise you, I'm going to do everything that I can to keep this city safe and hold those accountable who are guilty of the most egregious violent crimes. Where we can help people, where we can get people into programs so that they don't go down that road, we will do that. But we have to start with our youth. If we're not starting with the babies, we're not starting when they're young and rebuilding. Someone mentioned earlier about programs for children and the officer-friendly program. Yes, We need to bring that back because we need to stop villainizing police officers to our youth. We have to stop creating an environment where our children are afraid of or hate the police. We need to develop those relationships because when we know those children, we know what their needs are. And we can continue to help them. So that being said, I'll close it out. Thank you to everyone here. Thank you to the commission. I appreciate everything.
Thank you, Superintendent Snelling. Again, I want to thank you all for welcoming us into your community. Thank you, Alderperson Lee. Thank you, State Representative Teresa Ma for coming out today. Thank you to the district council members and commissioners that are in the room. Just a few quick announcements. Applications are open now to apply to be a member of the Community Commission. Those close on February 7th. Our next commission meeting is this Thursday at 6:30 p.m. at the Irish American Heritage Center. That is 4626 in the 17th District, 4626 North Knox Avenue. And our second forum with Superintendent Snelling will be on January 30th at 6:30 p.m. at the JLM Center. And again, that shot spotter hearing is going to be February 8th at 6:30 p.m. at the Ark of St. Sabina Church. I hope you all can continue to engage with us and come on out and make your voice heard. With that being said, thank you all again.